So in the long-awaited season finale, PC Principal Final Justice, the ad conspiracy is finally revealed to the general public, as every conflict in town is resolved by guns, provoking conversations. Welcome to So after the confused clusterfuck named #HappyHolograms marked the end of Season 18, pretty much everyone was expecting PC Principal Final Justice to be a failure. And surprisingly, it turned out good. Not phenomenal, but good. Let's start with the positives. Most of the subplots introduced earlier in the season either pay off completely or are at least touched upon. The latter would be a flaw, if not for the fact that in a surprising move, it looks like the storyline is going to continue next season, which is a good move. If Trey and Matt just resolved everything in the final episode, it would make it feel sort of rushed. I'm glad Garrison's presidential campaign is still going, and the ads are still a dangerous force to be confronted in Season 20. Speaking of which, so Leslie's dead, which is kind of a bummer. Ultimately, she was a good villain, effectively manipulating Carl and Jimmy. It didn't bother me that PC Principal defeated her so easily since, well, the lack of time, and because a quite interesting speech right before the confrontation may have hinted at a possible return as a recurring antagonist. Which would be great, especially since important female characters are very scarce in the show. Wendy barely even had a line this season. With that said, I did enjoy Classy. A subtle thing about her I didn't notice at first is that she was actually foreshadowed in Truth and Advertising, when Leslie rewards Jimmy with a porn ad. Nice detail. The gun ownership subplot was a riot, and it led to some legitimately good character moments, especially with the Marsh family. How often do we get to look inside Shelly's mind, for crying out loud? What especially strikes me is that it's built up as satire. I was thinking it would divert our attention away from the payoff of the previously established story, but no, it was actually an element that was well woven into the plot. If not for it, I don't think the conclusion could have been reached as easily. I think I prefer South Park doing troll satire rather than actual satire. Besides, Shelly killing Grandpa joke? Priceless, especially since he would like that. Interestingly, I don't think any gun was fired during this episode, which would be so easy to do. I'm happy they went the less obvious route. Of course, this episode has a few flaws, most of which are the general flaws of the season. First of all, the pacing for the final arc still feels quite off. Sponsored content really took its time to reveal pretty much anything, while the next two move a bit too quickly for my liking. I still think starting into an episode earlier would be more appropriate, and give the plot points time to progress more naturally. Now, to be fair, they do make sure that all of the important characters matter and stay active, even though it requires each and every one of them to conveniently arrive at one place at the same time.
Jimmy?
Officer Barbrady? Classy?
Randy?
Donkey! In addition, apart from a few Leslie cameos, there wasn't really much of a hint during the early episodes of the season that the ads would play such an important role in the final arc. The ad arc just sort of happened after the airing of sponsored content. We could have used just a bit more foreshadowing, then it wouldn't be so sudden. Actually, Trey and Matt introduced quite a few elements pretty late in the story in general, like the guns and Classy in this episode. There were also a couple of strange moments that made me scratch my head for a while. Like, for example, why did Leslie want to release PC Principal from his capture and let him run wild? Maybe I'm missing something, but it seemed like a really daft move, especially since it led to her untimely demise. Also, PCP being on an ad with Leslie on the swing was never really elaborated on, and I'm not sure what that implies. I feel like there should be an explanation for that somewhere, given that he looked so shocked after seeing it himself. Leslie's final plan of eliminating people at the gun show was a little vague. How is that related to pricing them out of existence? As far as character is concerned, I feel like the boys are a little cold after Kyle tells them about Jimmy's death. I don't know, I feel like I could use more of a reaction. They've been hanging out so often lately. Right, Kyle, screw everything. Now I'm gonna talk about my favorite character and no one's gonna stop me. I'm glad him giving up speeches was finally addressed, but during the climactic moment in the gun show, he never really had a chance of making an actual speech in the end. They may be saving that for season 20, but I got the impression that him showing up at the gun show and delivering a speech was supposed to be a big moment. This would not be a satisfactory way to end the subplot, but we'll have to see if it's addressed next year. Bottom line, I'm happy Kyle can finally be an active player in the grand scheme of things, not just a reactionary straight man to Cartman. Now then, season 19 is over, and so are my reviews. This series of South Park was really different, but it managed to make me satisfied in the end. The storyline format may not be for everyone, but there is no doubt Trey Parker is evolving as a writer. A few years ago, in the commentary of Asperger's, he and Matt said they wouldn't possibly be able to write a continuous, well-thought-out story. Whether you like this season or not, I'm sure everyone will agree this was a brave venture. Also stunning. We'll see if they can become even better next year, though I'm not sure whether I'll do reviews for every single episode or a seasonal retrospective. If the latter is the case, I might try out something different as well for the actual episodes instead, but I don't want to reveal it just yet. In any case, this was a lot of fun for me. Until next time, I'm Wensleydale Cheddar, and this was Friendly Faces Everywhere.
Brian Boita no el campeón, él sí sabría qué hacer. Había un plan y con precisión porque él es nuestro campeón. Y a Brian Boita no en las Olimpiadas en la gran final. Hizo un triple luz con mortal atrás y todo sin mirar. Y a Brian Boita no en plena acción en el Penedés. Usó su aliento de fuego y se ligó a tres. Brian Boita no el campeón, dinos qué harías tú. Él formaría una rebelión porque él es nuestro campeón. Quítame el chip de una vez. Me has dejado sin vocabulario. Yo quiero que mamá deje ya de fastidiar. Por un buen dice de un nombre de acción igual que Volcano el campeón. Brian Volcano el campeón, formaría un nuevo club. De niños por la rebelión porque él es nuestro campeón.
¿Sabéis cómo me llamo?
¿Quién eres tú?
Soy Brian Dennehy.
¿Qué? ¿Tú qué coño vas a ser Brian Dennehy? Ándale a tomar por culo.
Oh, perdón.
Fue Brian Volcano en naves espacial al siglo 33. Luchó contra un robot allí y salvó a la humanidad. Y a Brian Volcano en las pirámides metiendo a Kublai Khan. Porque al Volcano sí que no se lo tocan nadie. Nos vamos todos juntos a parar a las mamás. Sacar a Tebas de prisión igual que Brian el campeón. Y sacar a Philip de prisión igual que Brian el campeón. Igual que Brian el campeón.
Is Kyle copping a feel? I'm not the only one seeing this, right?